2 Samuel 19 through 21. Well, this is tough literature. I don't know about you, but this is even harder for me than Leviticus kind of stuff where that's laws and such. But this is history, and I feel like I should be keeping better track than I often do. But let's give it our best shot. This is just really, these last chapters of 2 Samuel are tying up the loose ends of David's legacy as the first the second king of Israel, but the first real loyalist, of course. David, of course, is mourning very heavily the loss of his son Absalom. Joab, of course, was the one who disobeyed orders and killed him. So you sense there's a rift forming between David and his military commander. In fact, he demotes him. When David returns to Jerusalem, it's safe to return, but there's problems among the tribes, and I think David can sense that. And it starts with Joab being demoted as the commander. In fact, what David does, unexpectedly really, is promote. This is Amasa, and he is the losing general, really, of Absalom's army. But David promotes him to take Joab's place. When Amasa doesn't act quickly enough, though, David turns and promotes Abishai. So, again, this is just recorded for us as David's administration is moving around through this difficult time. The Gibeonites come to David as well and complain that back in Joshua 9, when Joshua had made a deal with the Gibeonites that they would be protected, their complaint is that Saul, when he was king, did not protect them. And so that complaint is heard by David, and in fact David gives 7 of Saul's sons to the Gibeonites to be killed. A very shocking moment, it seems, and again, evidence that David can be very cruel. Well, what happens then, this is back in chapter 20, but it's important. A man named Sheba, he is a Benjaminite. He's loyal to Saul. He complains that David is not representing the Benjaminites fairly. And he makes this bold statement. It's only believed by his own clan, it seems, the Bichriites. But the complaint is, or the statement is, that we have no part in David. That phrase, in David, ba-David, ba meaning in Hebrew, is interesting because here's where, again, getting the story of the Old Testament into play will really help us understand the New Testament. So for this discussion, if you don't mind, I'm going to go way ahead in the story, but I'd like to make sense of some phrases in the New Testament that really play this out well here. What this means to be in David, notice that's not a mystical idea of indwelling or something like that. It just means that I am being loyal to David. I have no part in David, meaning I'm not loyal to him as my king. I am not going to be under the rule of David any longer. Okay? Well, listen then to the New Testament and how this will help us understand a very important phrase. In Romans 8, we hear the phrase, there is no condemnation to those who are in Christ. 1 Corinthians 15, those who have died in Christ. In Christ, all will be made alive. 2 Corinthians 5, if anyone is in Christ, there is a new creation. Do you see how the idea of being in Christ is not a mystical idea at all? It just means, as I was in David, following the rule of or under the authority of David, in the New Testament, the goal will be to be under the rule of Christ.